Okay, well, then I will call to order the special board meeting of the Central Oregon Community College Board of Directors for December 16th, 2024. May we have a roll call, please, Lucas?
Yes, we may. We've got Laura Kreska-Cooper.
Here.
Erica Scatbold.
Here.
Joe Krinowitz.
Yes.
Alan Unger.
Here.
Aaron Mers.
Here.
Aaron Foot-Morgan.
Here.
Jim Porter.
Here.
We have Lori Chesley.
Here.
Zach Boone.
Here.
Laura Bomey.
Here.
I don't see Alicia Moore or Anne Marie yet, or Michael.
Alicia's not coming, I know that.
Okay, all right. I will keep note though, and I will check them off as they come on. So otherwise, we've got Kyle.
Here.
And myself, Lucas, here, and we should be good to go.
And we also have Mark Reinecke for our,
Oh, yeah.
our legal representation.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, and I see we have some guests. Do you mind introducing yourselves?
Hi, I'll go ahead and go through. This is Sarah Henson. I'm sorry, for some reason, my work computer camera doesn't want to work. So you'll get to see my dog Remy. But I am a faculty member here and I'm currently the president of the faculty forum.
Thank you, Sarah.
And we have Christopher Sanders and Scott Burge from our IT department, just to make sure everything's working. And I believe Tara T is our captioner.
He is, yeah.
Fabulous. Okay, great. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate that. So thanks for joining us. And we are here today to consider the recommendation of the Presidential Search Advisory Committee. I apologize if I sound a little more muted. I'm in the atrium of the St. Luke's Hospital in St. Louis, Missouri. Anyway, it's fine. My parents are having outpatient testing stuff, so it's all fine. Okay, so we had a special meeting this morning of the Search Advisory Committee because we conducted the interviews last week and then we met for deliberations on Friday. And while we were pretty close to consensus, we wanted to make sure everybody had a chance to be heard and to listen to what everyone else had to say. We, as you may know, we started this process with a number of candidates that Preston had solicited for us and had received applications for. And then we reviewed the written materials and we narrowed that down to 7 candidates that we interviewed via Zoom. And we have a recommendation to bring to you today of 3 candidates. I believe that Zach has sent you the materials. All of the candidates have consented to being publicly named. It is a recommendation only because it is up to the board to decide whether to accept that recommendation, whether to interview all 3. I will give you a little bit of information and then I'll ask Erica to add anything I might have missed. It was a very robust process. It was a really good committee, a very diverse group of interests, backgrounds, experiences, and really skills at seeing things. And so there was a lot of really good discussion. And I think that one thing that illustrates it is that some of us, many of us, most of us changed our sort of where we were ranking the candidates after discussions, because we would learn things from each other that we maybe had missed or hadn't thought about. I will also tell you that when we kind of sort of did a straw poll to see where we all were sort of talking around and trying to figure out how we would rank the candidates, there is a pretty significant drop off between candidate 3 and candidate. Well, it's not significant, but I'd say it's a breaking point. We feel very comfortable recommending 3. There were other candidates that I think we believe would have been great as well. This was a really, really good pool. But it wasn't super hard to say we've got 3, and that was the ideal number that the board wanted. So that's how we came to this conclusion. So Erica, what else do you want to add before we name them?
I don't know that I have anything to add, but just to reiterate that because of the diverse, backgrounds and lenses of the committee, it was a very thorough process. And so it's it feels the three candidates up for recommendation feel really good. And we have thoroughly talked about them. So we hope that the board accepts the recommendations because I think you'll all enjoy meeting them if they come.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think I really want to note here as well, thank you, Erica, that we are very grateful to Preston and we're very grateful to Zach because he's done a lot of work to sort of herd cats, if you will. And yeah,
You just call yourself a cat, Laura?
I did.
It's like several cats, not just one cat.
Yeah, we were a lot of some of us were more stray than others, but yeah, I think that it was a terrific process and Zach helped to make it so. And particularly when you think about the fact that Zach hasn't been through this process before, it was really a yeoman's job. It was extraordinary. So I'm really, really grateful. And I know Erica and I have talked about that and so have other members of the committee. So that's not just me speaking there. So that brings us to the recommended candidates. And they are doctors. Well, Erica, do you have it in front of you? I'm at a little bit of a disadvantage where I am.
Would you like me to name them?
If you would name them, please.
Okay, yeah, Dr. Greg Pereira, Dr. Angela Tose, and Dr. Steve Erickson are all the recommended candidates.
Yeah, and those are in alphabetical order, not in any particular order, because the direction of the board was not to rank the candidates. I think so. Zach or Erica, would you mind, because I can't seem to pull up the resumes, would you mind giving just the highlights of each of those candidates and to why the committee thought they were particularly extraordinary and qualified?
Erica, do you want to do that or I'm happy to?
If you could, Zach,
Sure.
do you have
Yeah,
them up in
Dr.
front of you? Because we've talked about so many that it would be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, Dr. Erickson is currently the Vice President of Institutional Effectiveness, excuse me, and Technology at Minnesota State Community and Technical College. Pardon me, they call that M as in Mary State for short. He's been at that institution for some time. He was a dean prior to that, 2014 to 21. He's been in the VP role since 21. Director of Institutional Research as well. He actually worked in Portland at Heald College, which was a private nonprofit college that was based in California, but had campuses in Oregon and Hawaii. And so he was the director of academic and student affairs. He was an evening dean. His work in community college goes back to Mount Hood Community College. He was adjunct faculty at Mount Hood. And prior to that, he's done some work in the private sector as well. And he is currently, again, in Minnesota at M State. Dr. Greg Pereira is currently, let me make sure I have that right for him. I don't want to blow his institution because it's a double word. At, what's it called? I'm sorry. Oh yeah, Rio Salado in Tempe, Arizona. Rio Salado, S-A-L-A-D-O. He's a VP of Student Affairs. He's been in that role since 2012. Prior to that, he was the Vice President of Academic Affairs there, also has been a Dean of Academic Affairs and Community Development, did a Director of Community Partnerships, so he's got an interesting advancement lens, if you ask me, and he started his work in the nonprofit sector and rose to an Executive Director of an organization there in the Arizona area. Let's see, that's Dr. Pereira, again, VP of Student Affairs, Rio Salado College in Tempe. And then finally, Dr. Angela Tose. Dr. Tose is currently the Vice President of Student Services at Coalinga College. It's part of a multi-district college. She's also served as a Dean of Enrollment and Student Development Services. She was an Acting Dean of Counseling and Special Services at San Joaquin Delta College in Stockton. She was also, prior to that, Dean of Student Services at Merced College. So that's just a very quick overview. I know I sent that stuff out to you, including their references and their cover letters, but if you want me to dig in anything more, I've got these documents up in front of me. Happy to answer any questions or pull out any other information if the board would like.
Thank you very much, Zach. And I do want to note that while we had a really vigorous discussion, and I think people's sort of internal personal rankings of some of the candidates changed as a result of those, I will say that the committee was unanimous this morning in its vote of these 3 candidates. And I don't think it's much of a stretch to say that we're pretty enthusiastic. And I also don't think I'm exaggerating to say there were another 1 or 2 that we would have been very happy to interview, but we felt like this was a really strong, group. So. Anybody have questions or comments or thoughts? And we will eventually today need a motion either to accept or not accept the recommendation of the committee. And just a reminder that we're going to talk next, after we talk about the candidates, about the process of bringing them on campus, but it will be a 2-day visit for each of them.
This may be too much to ask in a quick time period, but can you just give us a quick maybe compare contrast between them just to help us understand what it was about them that felt like a really good fit for us and what some of the conversations were on the committee about this one would bring this one would bring this, maybe this person would bring this. Not a full review, but just a quick hit on that would be really helpful.
Yeah, I think I can do a little bit of that, and I'm hoping that maybe Zach and Erica can add a little bit. I know that Dr. Erickson had an extraordinary interview. He answered our questions really thoughtfully on a wide variety of subjects, and it's clear when he answered our questions that it was not just like, this is what I like to do. It was like, this is my philosophy on this, and here's examples of things I've done before, which was nice. And he hit, most of the big categories that we were concerned about as far as open communication, listening to voices before making decisions, but ultimately taking responsibility for a decision that you make, obviously, commitment to student success. Dr. Toast really struck me, and I think other people too, with a very, very strong commitment to understanding students' non-economic needs and to diversity, equity, inclusion, and the word that a lot of other folks use is accepting, but belonging as well. She had a very strong commitment to that, and she also, I think, did a good job in the interview and met most of the criteria that we had sent to the committee. Dr. Pereira, I almost forgot one other thing about Dr. Erickson. He's an engineer, and he brings that sort of lens to the job. So he looks at it as an academic, but he also looks at things sort of as, puzzles and things that he wants to fix and consider lots of options before you make a decision. Dr. Toast, as I recall, was also pretty good with, I think all 3 of them had a pretty good discussion about technology, which was nice. And all 3 of them had really helpful and good answers on when it came to dealing with the multi-campus system. Dr. Pereira was terrific as well in the interview and on paper. I mean, they were all good on paper, but Dr. Pereira, we remember he did a phenomenal job. You'll see this from his cover letter, that he took each of the criteria that the board gave to the advisory committee to use for the hiring consideration, and he addressed each one systematically to make sure that every one of those, and that's not something we asked for, but he made an effort to be very deliberate about each of the criteria we asked for and to address them all. He also had a real passion for students and equity, as well as understanding students where they come from and meeting them where they come from, and that their needs are not always academic. So Erica, Zach, do you want to throw in some more?
I would say something that's in common with all 3 candidates is they were very authentic in their interview and answered our questions thoughtfully. And then I think you've done a good job, Laura, at kind of outlining the differences with their backgrounds and focus. But all of them did a very good job at answering the questions that the search committee created with all of the different interests. So
Yeah, I think you guys have really both hit on, I think, what the committee saw, which was clear communicators. I think there was a balance of them speaking to their work history and what they would bring to the position, but also had done an amount of research on the college and our efforts to try to blend those together. Not all of the interviews did that well. So I don't really have a ton to add, other than I think all three of them, it was interesting that they were really able, again, to bring through the Zoom lens and communicate their vision for what they've done and also what they would do at the college here. So I thought that was lovely. And I think all three of them have nice, what I would say, comprehensive views of our students' experience, the age of our students, the range of our students, what our students are facing. They both, two of the three actually use the term student ready, which we've been using. And all three of them, I think really that came through, that they're really mission focused people committed to the work. So I think not that all seven weren't, but the three of them really brought that to the fore. Thanks.
That's great. And I also thought that all three of them were very clearly interested in COCC. I mean, it was not just I'm throwing my resume out there. They were thoughtful about COCC. They had good reasons why they wanted to be in Oregon, in Central Oregon specifically, and what they were attracted to about COCC. I see Sarah had a question about, do all of them have community college experience teaching? I think so. Zach, do you mind checking that?
Yeah, I'm looking right now. Dr. Tos has teaching experience at West Hills College, Lemoore, Fresno Pacific University, Reedley College, and the University of Massachusetts Global System. So West Hills College, Lemoore would be the most applicable. Sarah there. Dr. Pereira, let me make sure I have my notes right with Greg. Yeah, he's taught at Rio Salado College, where he is employed in digital media literacy, journalism essentials, and college and career prep.
And we know Dr. Erickson was, because he mentioned that he got into education because he was teaching classes at a community college, and he fell in love with community college and the students, and decided that was what motivated him to get his doctorate ultimately in education and become an academic.
That's correct. And he taught at Mount Hood.
It's funny how these little bits of information come back to you when you suddenly. Anybody else have questions or comments? Well, would someone be willing to make a motion to accept the recommendation of the Search Advisory Committee and name these three folks as finalists in our presidential search?
This is Joe. I so move.
Aaron, I saw your hand. You're willing. Okay, great. Joe moved and Aaron Mers seconded. Is there any further discussion? No? Okay, noting none. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed, please indicate by saying no or raising your hand. Noting none, motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm very excited. Okay, our next order of business is, you may recall that we had outlined, pardon me, in general terms, what we wanted the interview process to look like when they come on campus, that we discussed. We generally want to replicate what was done the last couple of times that we had Focus on Campus, which Lori had shared with us that she felt very comfortable that it was a good comprehensive process. And so Zach and Erica and Preston and I had talked a little bit about it, and Zach has put together sort of a tentative schedule for us to consider with, you know, a little bit more specificity, which I think will be really great, because I think a lot of folks on campus are a little nervous and would like to be reassured that this is going to be a comprehensive process and they will have an opportunity to meet each of the candidates, talk with them, and provide input to us. And so I think that's what this draft does. The one thing I want to say is I hope that we will, whatever we might do to this, however we might want to revise this, but that when we adopt a schedule, that we adopt it as a guideline for the amount of time that we want to allot to each of the meetings and to the meetings that we want to make available, and not that it be held at this specific time. because what we found last time was that we needed to move things around a lot because, you know, maybe the faculty wasn't available at this time, classified wasn't available at this time, the board wasn't available at this time, but this will set forth the specific meetings we want to have and roughly how much time we want to allot to them. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay, so do you have it? If you guys can pull it up.
Got it on the screen.
Okay, thank you.
So again, as Laura mentioned, these could fluctuate, but please pay attention. We just didn't want to recreate the entire document with those. And if we can lock some of these in, obviously breakfasts and dinners will stay the same. But we have 45 minutes for the introductory breakfast, an hour for deans and directors is a term that's a little bit more loosely used. We would work with SLT to identify the deans and director level folks for that hour, an all-campus presentation, which all candidates for jobs at the college do, as you all are aware. We will conduct a media interview, a panel that I'll put together. We'll give the candidates a break with lunch. We will also then have that formal interview with the board, an hour and a half, an hour with students, an hour with Dr. Bloomer at OSU Cascades, 45 minutes with Dr. Chesley, a community meeting in Bend for an hour, then a dinner with the college board. We will invite the foundation board chair to that dinner as well. Day 2, again, these can be flipped. We will have the time with the faculty forum executive committee. Sarah, I know you're attuned to that after your comment at the board meeting last week as well. So ideally that'd be a time with the executive committee and then with the full forum, 8:30 to 9:30. And then again, an SLT meeting for an hour. We'll do a classified lunch, that's an hour, or again, a classified meeting that is an hour, and then a full district tour. It takes a minute to get around the district, as you all are well aware. So that's a big chunk of the day 2, and then a dinner with the senior leadership team. Other meetings that would to be considered would be a meeting with campus safety and emergency management director Corey Darling. We can fit him in to maybe do some of the walking between meetings or driving, a Bend campus tour, and lunch and or tour with Kyle. You guys all had that in your packet, so I'll stop the share. And that, I should say that really closely mirrors what was done in the 2018-2019 process.
We did a little bit of tweaking in our discussion just of that original schedule, but Erin, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I was just curious. So it looks like the 2 times that they'll spend with the board, it's with the full board both times.
Yep.
Okay.
That's correct. And so our thinking is that we'll have a 90-minute interview with them. And we all will have to get together beforehand because we'll need to prep what questions we're going to ask and who's going to ask them. But then after that, we'll have a dinner where it'll be an opportunity. We'll try to arrange sort of like a cocktail hour first so that people can maybe mingle and chat individually. And then we'll have the dinner where we'll sit down with them. And I think that we can discuss whether we should bring spouses. It might be better if we don't, and we haven't the last couple times because it gave us more of an opportunity to have that really one-on-one conversation because it made for a smaller group. So, we're open. We're not gonna try to put constraints on the board. We all have to come to consensus. But that would be my recommendation. And we did want to add the foundation chair to that, just because we work closely to them, and we want to actually do more of that. So.
I would support keeping just the board and principals of the college at the dinners. Anything larger than that, it gets quite laborious in conversations.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Lori, you look like maybe you have something to say.
No, I was just fixing my hair. I think I get from this, you're also inviting the candidates, if they have a partner, to bring that partner to the dinner and
Yes.
to the experience, which I think is a good idea.
Yes.
So I'll mention that.
Thank you for mentioning that. Yes, we are highly recommended to do that, and it's what we've done in the past. And it's nice because we all recognize that the spouses often have a little bit of influence on the decision. And that's a good thing, to give them an opportunity to meet us as well and such. Anyone? Is Alan on? Yeah, Alan, I haven't heard from you. Are you good with this process? You've been through this before, so.
Yeah, it sounds all great. I like what we're doing. It all seems like you got it all dialed in well. And I read the 3 candidates material that Zach sent out, and it's real interesting, and I'm looking forward to meeting them.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, Erin Mers, you good?
Yeah, same. I just wanted to say, same. Laura, feeling good about everything.
Awesome. Okay, Erin or Joe, any last thing you guys want to ask or say?
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
So Laura, these will happen over maybe the next month, kind of a, yep.
Our thinking is that we're going to try to schedule them now, but we'll probably do them in January. And my understanding is the January term starts like January 6th. Is that right? Okay. So we have a request from faculty members not to do anything that first week because it's the first week of this term, and they can't really skip the first week of classes to come to interviews and things like that. And so the request was not to schedule anything before the second week of January. So I think we're looking for the 2nd to the 4th week of January. We're hoping to be able to get it done quickly because Preston told us that he said that our finalists are pretty extraordinary, and they're going to be of interest to other searches if they are part of other searches. And if we don't go quickly and they get an offer from another college, they may be tempted to say, you know, hey, I like this one too, and I got this one first. So we will try to schedule it as quickly as possible. So please try to be as flexible as you can with your schedules, and so that we can get these set. So Zach, and probably with some help from Kyle, will be reaching out to everybody and trying to help us get everything scheduled. The good news is that the candidates are usually really flexible, and we found that in scheduling these semifinalists conversations. They have indicated as of like, I think a week or 2 ago to Preston that they were still very interested in the job. And so therefore we think that we'll probably have a relatively easy time scheduling. So.
Okay.
Zach, anything else? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, thanks, Erin.
One quick thing. Sorry, team. Just thinking through the schedule that you sent out. I'm just thinking about both of those meetings with the board being on the same day. If there was an opportunity for us to split those so that we met with them one day and then potentially their final dinner was with the board rather than SLT. So we had a chance to have a full reflection with them over their time, their experience, rather than stacking both of those meetings with us in one day, would feel like a better fit to me.
And Erin, I mean, that's certainly a possibility, but we've usually tried to have them right after each other to recognize the board members who are from outside of the area. They can come over one time and have both of those meetings. And that's not to say both of those things couldn't occur on the second day.
Either way, right, okay.
And that might be possible, but it's going to be subject to sort of our schedules.
Yeah, okay.
Zach, am I missing anything logistically?
I don't think so. Joe's the only one who wrote back directly with some parameters that were helpful. I don't know what works best for the board, a doodle poll or schedule, or if you have days that you could block out fully, or how you want to organize that for Kyle and me to make that easy to get that set up. Obviously, the first and second weeks of the term can be a little challenging just because of folks coming back, but we'll do our best to make all that work. We want this to be an expeditious process, but we want as many folks to be able to weigh in and participate in these sessions as possible. And that's true in our outlying communities and our branch campuses as well. So again, if there are days you have vacations or days that you're at board retreats for other organizations or whatever that may be, that you just can't move, if you could let us know that. And again, if you prefer some doodle polls with large blocks of time, I know Kyle and I would be happy to manage that as well.
Why don't we do that?
Okay.
Can we do that? I like that.
Great.
So, Lori, go ahead.
Here's just something to think about. I have heard that these things, there are just a lot of moving pieces with all the different constituencies, and no constituency, please don't mistake what I'm going to say, is more important than the board. I also, a suggestion, if it's at all feasible, if you can give entire days as blocks, that would just help with a lot of the pieces. And if you can, I understand you're busy as well, but I just wanted to offer that, idea.
It's a good point. We would like to have everybody at these meetings. Okay, so what I think might be helpful, Zach, is to send one out that lists like maybe whole days, and maybe a separate one that narrows it down, and maybe that separate one can follow for the days that people have thought that you know, we don't have everyone available. Well, you guys can figure it out.
We got it. Yeah, we got it.
Okay. The other thing is, I got a message on here from Alan, and he was spot on. That's the next issue. We are going to need to put together the questions that the board is going to ask of the candidates, and we have 90 minutes. So we're going to have an opportunity to ask a decent number of questions. So what I'm hoping for is that everybody could please send to Erica and Zach and me, maybe the top 3 questions you'd like to see answered. And we'll do what we did with the search advisory committee. We did the same process. We then took those and we synthesized them into one document, because some people's questions will overlap. And then we'll schedule a time for us to talk about them and see if we're comfortable with them, or if we want to, and we can do that via Zoom. Is that all right? Is everyone willing to do that? Can I
Sounds
ask,
great.
can I ask that you all do that? Say this is the 16th, maybe by next Monday, the 23rd. So if you're so inclined, get it to me by Friday, but if not, if you could get it to us by next Monday, the 23rd. Okay, and Kyle, would you mind sending a reminder out to everybody on Friday that if they haven't sent the 3 questions to us, would they please send them?
You got it.
Thank you. Okay, anything else?
This is Joe. Real quickly, I just got to call out to the other 4 board members, what Laura and Eric has done on the selection committee. We all volunteer our time, but this project, searching for a president, is very time consuming, day in and day out, once it started back in September and October. And I've only done that once of the previous selection of presidents that I've been involved with. It does take a lot of time. Erica and Laura, thank you very much for throwing all that weight and all that time in. It's very much appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that very much. It is a lot of time, I'm not going to lie, but it has been a really good process, and I feel really good about it. And I believe that we are going to get an extraordinary next president, just like we have an extraordinary current president that I was very fearful we were not going to be able to find someone. And I'm feeling a lot better about that. And I would really be remiss if I didn't say that I have so valued Erica, because y'all know I can be a lot. And Erica is really, really good at just kind of keeping things calm and stepping back. And I'm really grateful for that. So I think we've got a really good process. I think we've got a good team, and I think we're in a great place. And so thank you, Jill.
I think we're a good team. That's what, yes, we're a very good team.
I agree.
It is a lot of time. I think we've done a very thorough job. I feel really good about it, but I was very tired over this. And I'm sure the rest of the committee members were too. It catches up with you to be that focused, hyper-focused in the amount of time that we put in, especially last week with the interview. So thank you, Joe. That's really nice.
Yeah. And Sarah Henson, I want to thank you for the note in the chat. Anything else?
Yeah, what do we do for, do we do an on-site visit background on finalists? Or?
So what we agreed to do was that we would, after we have Okay, so let me just run through it again. What we agreed to when we adopted the process a few weeks ago was that we will have each of the candidates on campus for 2 days, and then we will have a deliberation session where we will hear feedback from all of the constituent groups. And then we will make a determination of who is our top candidate conditionally. And then Preston will complete a background and reference check, and I think credit check as well. And then we'll see if we can negotiate a contract with them, and then then they will be hired. We typically will ask them, hey, we're about to name you as a finalist or as the candidate, but we need to conduct a background check. Are you comfortable with that, et cetera, et cetera. And we are not going to go on campus. We discussed that as a board, and it might have been when you were gone. And the conclusion was, after talking with Lori, particularly who'd been through it, and Preston, who does this a lot, it is sort of an anachronism. It's not something that colleges do anymore. And it seemed, I don't think I'm putting words in your mouth to say, Lori said it was a little weird. And Preston said it would be quite unusual. And I can also tell you that since we've had some challenges in 1 or 2 previous searches, the information that we found out that caused us pause on one of our searches was not learned on campus. Everything seemed great on campus. So the conclusion was that is not really a materially good way to spend our time and money.
Okay.
Lori, do you want to add anything, or is that?
No, yes, you reflected my view accurately, and I think Preston's view is even more important, that this is something that's really not done anymore because of it's easier to find out a whole lot of things about people these days, online and otherwise, and through calls and connections. And so, yeah.
Okay.
Preston's the expert.
But we have appreciated your real life experience as being a candidate. So, okay, as the auctioneer would say, this is a going, gone. Anything else anyone would like to say?
Yeah, once we get that doodle poll out, if you guys could get that completed as soon as you are able, and then hold those dates, don't schedule them over. If you give them to us, we'll work with Preston, obviously, on these candidates, and Kyle and I will get to work. But if the sooner you guys can all respond, the more we can keep this on the track. Thanks so much.
And the sooner they can get back to us, so we don't have to keep extra days open. Okay, thanks everybody. I really appreciate you all, and I think we're in a great place. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
We're adjourned.